We're recording, okay. I'd like to call the 270th meeting of the Equal Employment Practices Commission to order. Executive Director Jean Victor, if you could please call the roll of the commissioners.
Yes. Chair and Commissioner Alden Veneer.
Present.
Vice Chair and Commissioner Elaine Reese.
Present.
Commissioner Manaska Alcantara.
Present.
Commissioner Nicole Yearwood is just walking in.
Let's hope that stay present.
Stay present.
Stay present, Commissioner.
And Commissioner Ngozi Akaku.
I'm sorry, I forgot this was supposed to start at 10. So it goes and texts me talking about I'm on the phone.
We have all the commissioners present. We have quorum. Next order of the agenda is approval of the minutes on November 2nd, 2023. We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Reese. We have a second by Commissioner Alcantara. Any discussion on the minutes? If no discussion, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. Next, we have the approval of audit resolutions for 2023 final determination resolutions for three agencies: Department of Small Business Services, Brooklyn Community Board 11, and Brooklyn Board 13. Actually, if I can ask the executive director to just read the resolutions in for the record before we have a motion to approve.
Yes. So for 2023 final determination resolutions, we have resolution number 2023 AP/270-801 for 2023 Department of Small Business Services. We have resolution number 2023 AP/270-481 for 2023 Brooklyn Community Board 11. And we have resolution number 2023/270-483 for 2023 Brooklyn Community Board 13.
I moved it, baby.
Approved. We have a motion for approval by Commissioner Reed, seconded by Commissioner Alcantara. Can you do me a favor, Manny? I'm having, it's covering Commissioner Carlos' face. There we go. Now we- Any discussion on the resolution? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. Next, we have the 2023 compliance resolutions for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 organizations, 11 city agencies. If Executive Director Jean Victor, please let me talk. Okay.
So we have resolution numbers 2023 AP/270-7 2023 C47 Brooklyn Community Board 17. Resolution number 2023 AP/270-488 2020 C48 Brooklyn Community Board 18. Resolution number 2023 AP/270-473 2023 C49 Brooklyn Community Board 3. Resolution number 2023 AP/270-059 2020 C50 Board of Standards and Appeals. Resolution number 2023 AP/270-901 2023 C51, Office of the New York County District Attorney. Resolution number 2023 AP/270-009, 2023 C52, New York City Employees Retirement System. Resolution number 2023 AP/270-827, 2023 C55, Department of Sanitation. Resolution number 2023 AP/270-472, 2023 C56, Brooklyn Community Board 2. Resolution number 2023 AP/270-474, 2023 C57, Brooklyn Community Board 4. Resolution number 2023 AP/270-486, 2023 C60, Brooklyn Community Board 16. And resolution number 2023 AP/270 482, 2023, C61, Brooklyn Community Board 12.
I move that they be approved.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Reeves. We have a second.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Yearwood. Any discussion on these? So these are ones that we're gonna be signing certificates for? Or it's the next batch that we have to sign certificates for?
Yes,
For this batch?
yes,
All right.
and for the next batch.
Correct. Any discussion? So all in favor of approving these compliance resolutions, say aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Next, we have the 2023 final determinations and compliance resolutions. Could you please read them into the record?
Sure. The 2023 final determinations and compliance resolutions, these are the agencies that came into compliance during the final determination, when we issued the final determination. So we have resolution number 2023 AP/270-485, Brent 2023 C53 Brooklyn Community Board 15. The resolution number 2023 AP-270-480, Brent 2023 C54 Brooklyn Community Board 10. Resolution number 2023 AP/270-002, Paren 2023 C58 Office of the Mayor. Resolution number 2023 AP/270-484, Paren 2023 C59 Brooklyn Community Board 14.
I move that they be approved.
So we have a motion to approve. We have a second.
Second.
Commissioner Yearwood seconds. Any discussion? Now, these are the ones that had corrective actions and then they cleaned them up
To them.
and then they're now in compliance.
So these are the ones that were not in the compliance monitoring program, but they addressed whatever corrective actions they had before they went into the compliance.
And
monitoring.
then they addressed all of them to our satisfaction. Now they
Yes.
are in compliance. Okay, excellent. All in favor of approving these resolutions, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions, hearing none, the motion passes. I want to take a moment to, yes?
I just have a question as to what our total number of approvals is for the year. How many people have gone through the audit? Have we made our number?
That we are up to compliance resolution 61 for the year.
61.
61, yeah,
Not
So-
59. 61.
61.
And we were supposed to be at 64, we think, right?
At the last meeting, we said we were gonna be at 60.
Okay. Excellent,
Perfect.
perfect. I also, yes. Also like to recognize that I know Imani, I know the Executive Director Gene Victor and others, and were here as well until 10 o'clock at night, waiting for the last stragglers to submit all their documentation so that we can issue compliance certificates on behalf of those agencies. So thank you for working into the late hours of the evening to make sure that we were able to get these out by today's board meeting.
And I assume it's somewhat of a promotion or should we recognize the new face at the table?
There's been no official promotion at this point.
All righty, next we have old business. For old business, we have the budget fiscal year 2024, status update from Executive Director Gene Victor.
Yeah, I just wanted to keep the board apprised of what was happening with the budget. The OMB called for the next PEG when we made our submission, basically saying we addressed it in the initial PEG. That wasn't really something that they felt was addressed, but they understood our situation and they said that they would, they didn't require me to submit anything further. So that was one good thing. And I wanted to mention that we had a meeting a week or so ago with the Vulcan Society and convened at the request of Council Member Natasha Williams. And we made our pitch at that point. And just to note that the Vulcan Society had its own issues that it wanted addressed as well. And I had a subsequent conversation with the law department after that meeting. and I reported the allegations that I had heard. They were fully aware of almost everything, and they said that they were addressing it. I also informed them that the fire department is on our list of agencies that's going to be audited in this coming year. And I also offered that we can take a look. Now that we know about some of these allegations, we can take a look at some of the other standards that may have been implicated by these allegations.
Commissioner Reese?
Their allegations raised an issue, and I'm not quite sure what our response is to it. So it's a policy issue that is troubling, and I don't know how to deal with it. One of the allegations that I read, so it's third hand, is that they felt that the Black members did not have a counselor who was sympathetic to their problems. There was not a Black counselor. And it's troubling to me. Does that mean that we need to make sure, as we audit, that if there is a high percentage of Asians, if there's an Asian counselor, and if there's a high percentage of Hispanics, that there's a Hispanic counselor? I mean, that allegation is a troubling one, in that the employee is looking for someone who is like them to share their problems with. And yet the next question is, since we have such a difference of all sorts of different groups, does that mean even if we go into a Hispanic that we need to have a Puerto Rican counselor and a Dominican counselor, because they don't necessarily share the same culture either, as I understand it? And what about the poor Jew that's walking in? Do we need to have a Hasidic counselor sitting there because the Orthodox Jews don't feel as though someone understands their culture and their customs and their needs as an employee to leave at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday and not to work late, even if there's work due? I'm very troubled by it, and troubled by whether, as we do an audit, we never look at the complexion or the culture of the EO officer, assuming that what they are is impartial and are really only looking at the issues, not needing to have to understand the cultural barriers that lead to that issue. So I just raise it because that was it came through as that being one of the allegations. And I don't understand what we do with it, if we do anything.
Commissioner Yearwood?
So I think that the issue more so specifically for the fire department is the historic racism that has taken place in the department. So I think that makes the issue somewhat unique. There's only about, the last time I knew a count of Black firefighters, it was like 300. And it was, I want to say, was it 2 or 3% of the fire department that is made?
Tiny.
It's very small.
But so
So
is
I
the group
think-
of women.
Right, exactly. No, State, I don't disagree with that. So what I'm saying is, I think that between that small number and then the history there, they want someone maybe that they can feel comfortable with. Now, I don't know what we do in terms of an EEPC, but I do understand maybe why at the fire department that could be something that's an issue because of the historic discrimination that took place in the department.
The meeting that was, Council Member Natasha Williams, who chairs the Oversight Committee for us in the City Council, has taken a really proactive stance in setting up meetings with advocates or potential allies that can serve to help promote the EEPC's mandate and the need for the mandate when it comes to budget hearings and negotiations. And Councilmember Natasha Williams has already convened a meeting with DC 37 to help, so that we can educate them on what we do and that they can be a signatory to a letter that is drafted by Natasha Williams and I believe co-signed by us to the mayor and the budget office to advocate against PEGs for the EEPC and for the Commission on Human Rights. Then she also scheduled a meeting with the Vulcan Society. I recognize Commissioner Yearwood when I finish my thought. She also scheduled a meeting with the Vulcan Society for the same reason, to allow EEPC to state what it is we do. Often that's the first time agencies here or advocate groups hear about what we do. Sometimes there's confusion about what we do in relation to what the Commission on Human Rights does. We don't look at individual complaints or allegations. That's something the Commission on Human Rights does. We just look at agency practices, protocols and procedures around EEPC frameworks and in our audits. And we also have a research and educational arm to us. But in this particular meeting, the Vulcan Society offered a series of different allegations of discrimination that African-American members are facing in the fire department. Because these allegations were expressed at this meeting, and they thought this meeting was, part of the meeting's purpose was to deal with some of those allegations, we had to clear up that our agency is not mandated to deal with individual allegations and complaints, but because Executive Director Jean Victor is a mandated reporter of such, once hearing such allegations, she then, after the meeting, called the Department of the Law Department just to apprise them as to what she heard and her concerns. In that regard, the Law Department assured her that they are aware of the specificity of the kind of allegations that she raised. Okay. So that's where we're at now. In terms of so Commissioner Reese's comments were in relation to that. All I can say about the fire department in relation to that, and kind of in line with what Commissioner Yearwood said, is that I suspect my understanding from the conversation was that as a result of the 20-year-old consent decree that the fire department has with the federal government monitoring and with the city in terms of a consent to monitor those practices, they've hired a chief of diversity, they've hired different compliance folks who may or may not be white or black. I got the sense that they might have even been African American, because they said that they had hired because of all the work that the Vulcan Society had done historically over the decades, and yet they're not being responsive. So I don't even know what the backgrounds are of the people who hold in those positions, but whatever the background are of those individuals, at least the Vulcan Society is unsatisfied with the way in which some of these complaints are being dealt with, particularly the time lapse. I think they mentioned that 6 months or so, or over 6 months pass before cases are even resolved or mediated. And that led Executive Director Jean Victor and myself to think, maybe how long EEO cases take to be addressed and resolved should be a key performance indicator or a point of measurement for us in our audits. Because maybe, how they say, justice delayed is justice denied. The idea that, if you have a complaint and you have to wait months on end, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months to a case to be resolved or mediated. Meanwhile, you have to kind of still work together with the person you might have issues with. They might have discriminated against you or had a hostile work environment created. This lapse of 6, 7, 8 months. I don't know what it should be, but I think we can all agree that over 90 days of not resolving something kind of does get out into the outer bands of what's acceptable, what should be acceptable practice. So that's something that we thought about maybe including in audits. We have Commissioner Yearwood.
I have more to say about that in executive session. But I was going to budget because I thought we had moved on to budget. But in terms of the budget piece, I did see the chair of the City Council Finance Committee, Councilmember Justin Brannon. He was recently on New York One, talking about the fact that the council was pushing back on the across the board pegs. And literally because of the effect that it does have on smaller agencies. So I was wondering if he was also brought into the conversation around our agency.
Not that I'm aware of. He should be the recipient of the letter that we created around Pikes. June, if we could
I
send it to
think,
him.
I think he was, but I'll double check.
Okay.
Thank you for that. We definitely need to make sure he gets the letter. Commissioner Reese?
I think if we are going to audit the timeline, we ought to tell everybody with sort of a broad side that is to please keep records of the time. I think you may find some agencies for obvious reasons not keeping these records. If there's no mandate that requires them to, I bet they don't.
Well, we do have we do require that they complete a complaint log with the time and date that, complaints are received and the dates that complaints move through the system. Now, do we check that? No, we don't.
So in this particular audit type that we're doing now, we don't do as deep of a dive. We just kind of make sure that they are capable of tracking and that they have tracked on some level. But in the other audit type we were doing before, like the sexual harassment and or previous complaint related audits, there is a standard where we do look at specifically certain case files and the time elapsed and making sure parties were adequately notified if there was a delay in the process, et cetera. So this current audit type, we don't look as deep into the specific case files. We just look at the general log, not the time elapsed in specific case files.
It might make some sense. I mean, given the complaint, and it may just be the fire department, but we may find that that is something that's happening around, particularly when the EO officer has had to be replaced and there was no EO officer for a period of time. You may find that the complaints just sit there and wait
Right.
until someone comes in. So we might want to look at that, and then that would be a further thing that has to be brought into compliance. Having said that, do we have a timeline that we think ought to be recommended so that it's done in a timely manner? Is that 3 months, 4 months, 6 months? Do we have some knowledge of what the average is and then hold everybody to an average?
It should be in the
So
policy.
yeah, it's 90 days in
90
the
days.
policy,
So-
and then, yeah. but-
So it is 90 days in their policy.
They follow the city policy.
Okay, so it's 90 days, of course. Okay.
So then we
Just think
should,
that this is,
we should make sure that people are complying with it.
this is a good opportunity maybe in the new year, at one of our meetings, to do a deeper dive in terms of the audit questions, because this is another example of commitment versus compliance. So, do you have a log, right, a complaint log? So they just show you the complaint log. And then that satisfies that question, whether you have a log or not.
Right.
Meanwhile, the lived experience of people that are city employees, the complaint log itself may not be as important to them as the time that's lapsed between when they make a complaint and when different thresholds or different things happen.
Right.
So maybe aligning, having a deeper dive in the new year about how, to what extent, what we audit is mostly aligned with what really matters in terms of the lived experience of individuals that may be confronting discrimination. And time lapse is one of those very important variables. I think many of us would agree.
So, just so I'm clear though, we've just completed 2 years of a 4-year audit cycle. So I know that we don't normally change the audit in the middle of the cycle, but I was thinking just for the one particular agency, since we became aware of matters, we could take that deeper dive with that agency as opposed to making the changes and changing the audit for all the remaining agencies.
In terms of
No,
that,
I
in
think
terms of that,
my sense is, and I know it's unusual, but if you just do the fire department and others are in the same non-compliance, it's not fair either.
I'll say, since
So
it's
I
an
think if we should
operational,
do it,
since the operational issue, I would say we do it in executive session if it's
Thank
worthwhile in terms of what it is that we expect. Yeah. Next order of business, we have procedures for remote attendance, final version.
Okay, we had sent them out to you. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to look at them, but at our prior meeting, I had said that I was going to go back and tweak the procedures for remote attendance, which I did, and I highlighted the changes. So basically, all I did was separate out disability from extraordinary circumstances. And if a commissioner has a disability, then they may attend the meeting remotely and they will count towards the quorum. If they have extraordinary circumstances and are attending the meeting remotely, they don't count towards the quorum. In both cases, they can vote on business.
Does that count towards the no-show rule that we had, that if you lose 30% of the meetings, then you're out? Remember that we had?
Not
So
for
if you
remote
participate,
attendance.
remote attendance counts as participation.
Yes,
Perfect.
just not the quorum.
Okay, got it.
If you're allowed to vote, you attended.
Okay. Good.
No, but I think because we have quorum, and goes is
Quorum.
allowed to vote.
Yes,
Yeah.
those is Commissioner Akaru's vote counts and is counted in minutes and even though it's not for quorum, but for votes, yes.
Okay, so if there's.
Because that's the same
in-house
as with
quorum-
community boards.
Yes.
There's in-house quorum, you're here.
No, if there's in-house quorum, remote votes count.
Correct.
Okay.
So they are in
Understood it
attendance.
different. Okay, perfect.
So if there's no other changes, that's the final version. I can accept the changes and we'll send it out to you.
Sounds good. Next, we have guidelines for commissioner payments, final version.
So also, again, we spoke about that at the last meeting. We spoke about the specific instances. So I took that same memo that I had given out before, like I think it was in July, and I added those specific instances just to be clear and sent it back out again. So if you had an opportunity to look at it,
So for clarification,
yes,
if you are going to those meetings that that you call that are if you request a commissioner to attend, the commissioner is paid. If the commissioner decides to attend and is not requested, the commissioner is not paid. Correct? That is my understanding. Thank you.
No new business was emailed to us for the agenda, so that is correct. We'll move to the audit update, agency snapshot.
Pico?
yeah, you want to do it?
Okay. All right, so
See,
Do we have anything that I said? Do you have anything on agency snapshot? The data that I sent?
Thank you.
so
Thank you.
I'll just start with the general.
Yeah.
State and then go into the executive general. Okay. So in terms of the audits, as far as preliminary determinations, all preliminary determinations have been issued. And there are 4 remaining final determinations to be issued. And of the 4, we're on target for all 4 to be sent out still within this calendar year. And as far as entities in total,
which paper am I looking at
Oh.
and where should I be directing my attention to?
So he's just talking more in general.
Okay.
and then I was gonna get into this next. Okay. Yeah, and as far as entities that are still either those included for the final determination and ones that are still in compliance monitoring, there are 15 entities, 7 community boards, 8 bigger agencies, and of the community boards, 6 of them are scheduled to still conclude this month. So now I'm gonna get into the snapshot with this. So as far as the agencies that are before the board now, we had the Department of Small Business Services, Board of Standards and Appeals.
Out of
Yeah,
the
that's what I
7
want to tell you. So initially, when we send out a preliminary determination, we tell them the number of corrective actions. So in the Department of Small Businesses, at their preliminary, they had 12 corrective actions.
And what is the 7?
So then they have an opportunity to respond to us and they say, oh, you said we had 12, but we really had these documents, you missed them or whatever it is. And then we reissue again and we say,
Okay.
how many corrective actions you have? Now you have 7.
Okay, got it. So the first one is the one that we
Preliminary.
issue?
The second one's the final.
Okay. And the 7, they still need to correct those 7 for us to give them final determination.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
no, it's fine. And then with Boards of Standards and Appeals, they had 13. They have 12 outstanding. The Office of the New York County District Attorney, they had 9. There was just 1 left, but they have since implemented that. And New York City Employees Retirement System, there was 14 at the preliminary stage, 13 at the final stage, and they were also able to be concluded. Department of Sanitation, there were 6 at the preliminary stage, 4 at the final, and
And you asked for the average corrective action, so I took the average. There were 11 at the preliminary and then 7 at the final.
And this was in response to Commissioner Reese's. We're doing this in response to Commissioner Yearwood or Reese?
Yearwood, Commissioner Yearwood asked for the community boards, and then there was some discussion about, well, what about all the agencies that are before us today? So it looks like there are fewer agencies because what happened was in the last day or so, we've been adding agencies to the list. So this wasn't done, this was done like last week.
Okay.
So, Commissioner Yearwood, is this the kind of information, does this meet the kind of expectation you have for your information request?
Yeah,
Or
this is
to do
fine.
this on an ongoing basis?
Yeah.
And just for the community boards, which borough? Is he?
All
this is
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn this year.
They're all Brooklyn, so that was my
That's what
question.
I-
And how many overall community boards in Brooklyn?
18.
Yeah, when I saw 18, I was like, I know this ain't Manhattan.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
no problem. And then just as far as the bigger agencies, there was a question about the kind of most prevalent corrective actions that were received. So it was in regards to overall training plans, like implementation of training. The second was the annual workforce review to look at their statistical information between the principal EEO professional, HR, and the agency head. And then the third most prevalent one was regarding designation of a career counselor and making sure that all staff were made aware of the designation of the career counselor.
I just wanted to remember, my memory was that the New York City employees retirement system was a problem 4 years ago as well, in terms of number of corrective actions, and it took forever ultimately for it to get through the process. So that is my recollection. That's before you were here, obviously, but that's my recollection.
So Commissioner Yearwood had asked for the community boards, what was the most prevalent corrective action? So that's what this chart is on the next page. For all the community boards that we looked at, which was Community Board 3, 10, 11, those were all the ones from this.
EEO and sexual harassment training,
Right.
Jason?
So yes, that was the most prevalent. And I wrote down what that corrective action was under average corrective actions.
So, that's no more. Change.
And the recruiting of EEO and structured interview. Yes. Now, as I remember, the community boards do not, the responsibility for recruiting members is at the borough president's level. It is not done by the community board's executive. So this is just EO officers for the 4 or 5 employees that exist at the community board?
So, yeah, I think there's a combination of
Yeah,
that.
so from what we've heard from the community boards, the chair and sometimes a committee an executive committee are involved in part of the process. And they work in tandem with the borough president's office to make those.
Some of the
appointments.
managers do and some of the
Yeah,
managers
so some of the
don't.
district managers were, and chairs were involved at some. And in others, it was just the chairperson and the committee that were involved and not the district manager. So we found both instances. Some, the district manager was involved and some, I think one of the kind of separating points were obviously the appointment of the district manager themselves would be the chair and the committee, but sometimes like community assistants, community coordinators, community associates, the district manager will also be involved in those appointments as opposed to, yeah.
So understanding EEO and sexual harassment training does not mean, even if that was, audit showed that they did have EEO and sexual harassment training, it doesn't mean all the members of the community boards. It only means hierarchy.
Yeah, the
That
staff,
only means employees,
Yeah.
not appointees.
yes.
Which we want to change
Yeah,
going
that's what,
forward.
yeah.
Understand, I was just clarifying what this represented.
Yeah.
Now,
Any other questions related to this? Anything else? Thank you for that.
Thank you. Yep, thank you for this.
Next, we have agencies not in compliance. Audit update, section B.
So when we put this on the agenda, there were a couple of agencies that were not responding to us. And, but I think that's been resolved at this point.
Yes, except for the easy thing, I don't know.
Right.
About that.
That was,
But
yeah.
later, oh, okay. But yeah, there were a few community boards that there was a little bit of a delay in the process, but we were able to kind of work with them in tandem with the borough president's office and all reach and get them into compliance within the time frame. So,
right.
Yeah.
And as Menelik was alluding to, there was one agency, I think I put a letter in to the agency as a draft to basically say, EDC, we audited you by way of your consent. You seem to have revoked that, and we're confirming that that's what you're doing.
But we like that, if they're going to revoke it, we like that in writing.
Yeah, I've
just
already asked for that and haven't gotten anything, so that's why I'm writing at this point.
Yeah, let's
Because,
say you wrote them to get, yeah.
yeah,
But they should, yeah, but like they're in affirmative, and should say that they revoked their consent to be audited.
yes.
is it
They do
something
that.
where you should copy the mayor?
Yes, they were under.
It's not a bad idea.
I mean, it's a mayoral appointment and the mayor should have some concern about the fact that the Economic Development Corporation is not abiding by EO policy. Essentially, by withdrawing from the audit, you're not, should we assume that it indicates non-compliance with the city's EO policy?
I don't want to make that leap to say they're not in compliance, but they
Well, you
certainly are
determined
not.
not to have us audit whether or not you're in
Yes.
compliance. That is the statement. You made the determination that you do not wish us. We are charter mandated to order every city agency, and you do not wish us to.
Are they a city agency?
No.
Sorry, I just want to interject.
No, I
I'm
didn't say.
excusing myself. Remember, I'm not on the conversations about EDC, so I'm not involved in this discussion because I'm on the EDC board.
Okay,
Thank you for that.
But
No.
they are appointed by the mayor, they get their funding from the city. And so you have determined that unlike all the other agencies and even some of the district attorney's offices, you are unwilling to participate, or you're withdrawing your willingness to participate in our audit. of the mandated EEO, federal, state, and city policies. I mean, I make it a stronger letter, and I would copy the mayor's office.
Should I also copy Council Member Williams?
Yeah. that would-
Yeah. Yes. And maybe even the controller. I mean, I've raised that, I'm not sure that I looked
I
at,
agree.
That makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
yeah. That's where the money comes from.
The EDC.
And they will be auditing us, so they will know.
What can that be audited?
The control.
They audit us.
The control.
Next agenda item is the research update. Request for data from community colleges. That would be Russell.
So in relation to local law 13, CUNY each year will give us some data on all the stuff that we need to do the report. We had asked for additional data back in April. The request was acknowledged, but never officially responded to or affirmed or denied. And so in the past few weeks, Jean has actually reached out to some of our point people at CUNY to talk about the possibility of getting more. So those discussions are ongoing. I wasn't part of the discussion, so I don't know if you want to add anything to it, but just to say that we're trying to make some progress on that.
Commissioner Reese, if we could let Jean give us an
Well,
update.
I have a comment on the data. They have, CUNY has something called CUNY First. I mean, they have all the colleges, and both the full colleges and the community colleges, of which we have jurisdiction, submitting their data to a central space. There's no reason why that centrally located data can't be submitted. It's not the individual colleges. It's called CUNY First. I don't understand what the holdup is or the magic. I know that they're reluctant to share. I accept that.
Yeah.
But it's gross data. It's not, it's just numbers.
So because they never officially responded, I don't know if their hesitancy is based on they physically can't get it to us or they don't want to. So I can't respond to what database it's in and how feasible it is. I don't know if it's a logistical question or a legal question on their end. So until we have the further conversations, I don't know really what the issue is.
And I-
Could talk to their general counsel's office.
And again, we don't have an agency council, and that's one of those things when our agency council, when we do hire one, we'll have a little bit more bandwidth around these kind of questions.
So I did speak with one of the representatives from CUNY, and it was explained to me that there's just a hesitancy to provide the data. There was a feeling that our request was overbroad, and no one ever said anything to us about it, so we didn't know that. And there's also a hesitancy because they feel that if no one wants the data to make them look anything other than stellar. So there's this fear that something would be published that would be less than complimentary. So.
We'll leave that there. Any other updates then on the community colleges for Russell?
No.
And which means that we don't have a report yet, right? We don't have anything remotely close to.
No, well, we will publish the report the way it's been done. We were trying to do something a little bit better, to do a deeper dive into some of the examples and to some of the particular issues. So the report will be issued. It'll probably be a little bit past, for the community colleges, it'll probably be a little bit past the February 15th deadline.
So yeah, but I think the
Yeah.
commissioner is gonna know about the deadline than the content. So if we feel the report is not really saying anything or really up to the kind of standards that the EPC should really want to be projecting, then we need to, we haven't reviewed the report yet, so we have to, first review it and then decide, how to proceed in that regard. Commissioner Reese?
I want to go back to the point that you made, which was that they're afraid that the data would be less than complimentary. With not having the data, what are you going to say about the community boards, about the community colleges?
So the data that we have, I don't know if you remember the report from last year, it would basically look like the report last year in terms of both the style and the content, and that's what it's going to look like. In terms of some of the potential issues in terms of what we're diving into, you're right, I don't have the data. I can't say what the conclusions that we would draw are or what we would dive into. So if they have concerns about that, I can't respond to them until I see.
No, but if you haven't gotten the data and therefore you've done it with others, what will you say about that institution? So.
Oh, what will I say about that?
Your finding would be that I can't make a finding because because they didn't communicate the data to me?
The conclusion would be, this is all that we can talk about, which will be in the report, which is the prepackaged data that they give us, and this is all that we can say, and we've made a request for additional information that, and we have not received what we've asked for. That's how I would frame it.
We could talk about that in executive session, because that's more about strategy. Because if we're doing reports without the appropriate data, then why have the need for data in the first place if we're gonna keep complying by just issuing reports that are unbased on the actual data?
But I'm back, Gina, even though you are not counsel, you are, as I remember, a lawyer. It seems to me that you could call the office of the community's law office and indicate essentially what he said. I mean, we're going to issue a report anyway. The report's going to show that you weren't in compliance. I've spoken to the people, they're concerned that we're going to show you in a bad light. It can't get any worse than you didn't comply.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried because the council can tell them to share the data.
Yeah, that's what I was going to next. We could discuss a strategy for how to approach the council to make sure that the appropriate pressure is applied so that.
And we can do that in executive session.
Yeah. Next, we have requests for additional data from DCAT.
So that, if you may recall, we have entered into an MOU with them to get data on city personnel. So we're just have filed an amendment with them to revise the MOU to get a few more things that we need. No official progress has been made, but I'm reasonably confident that we will get what we want. It just will probably take some time, but I don't know for sure. So
I'm going to draft the amendment and send it over and then see if they're okay with it, as opposed to having them draft it.
Yeah, that's okay. The point, section 9 is cut off for my.
It's an adjournment, that's the adjournment.
That was the adjournment?
Yeah, I looked at that, I looked it up.
That's simple enough then. So,
And then prevention of sexual harassment
Yeah.
training.
yep, so we're gonna adjourn, I believe, going to executive session to have just 1 or 2 personnel or operational issue conversations. And then the commissioners are going to continue with part 2 of their training. Prevention of sexual harassment
once
in the
again.
workplace.
But sexual harassment, we have to walk across once again to the municipal building.
No,
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 we
that
don't
was
do
for the ID.
That was for the
Yeah,
ID.
that was just for the ID.
This is the one where we have a conversation about shoulders and no touching on the shoulders, because
I
Commissioner
hope y'all
Yewood,
looked that
that's
up.
the Commissioner
Hope y'all
Yewood,
looked that up.
that's the Commissioner Yewood
I was
doctrine.
I was actually
Doctor.
talking to my husband last night about
Did
it.
we cut the recording?
So we have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn for Commissioner Alcantara, seconded by Commissioner Okaru. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, we are now adjourned. If we can, stop the